This is episode number 15 of the Feed Me, Fuel Me podcast with our guest, Tommy Baker. Welcome to the Feed Me, Fuel Me podcast. My name is Jeff Thornton, alongside my co-host, Michael Anders. Each week, we bring you an inspiring person or message related to our four pillars of success: manifestation, business, fitness, and nutrition. Thank you for allowing us to join you on your journey. Now let's get started.
Hey, what's good, guys? Welcome to episode 15 of Feed Me, Fuel Me. And today we've got a very special guest, Mike Anders, here with Jeff Thornton. And we've got our boy, Tommy, Elite Fit, on with us with the Resist Average Academy. Welcome to the show, brother. Thanks for coming.
Welcome,
today.
brother.
Guys, I'm so excited to be here and really believe in what you're doing. And, of course, a big fan of the podcast. So, been looking forward to this. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, totally.
Thanks for coming on, brother.
So you're a recent transplant from the East Coast. And today I really want to dive into your story a little bit because I find it extremely interesting why you moved out here. I'm super interested for you to tell everybody what the catalyst was for you to make the change that you made, because I find that part of it to be the most interesting and the most epic to me.
I love it, man, and it's such a great question. I'm so excited to share it. And, I think the biggest thing was that I got to a place where – we have these growth cycles in life, right? And we have these goals that we set. Each time we set them, it's not about the goal that we're chasing. It's really the person that we have to become to complete that goal. So my goal coming out of school was to open my own performance training gym. I mean, that was my passion. And then I did that, and then we opened up another one. And then 6 years down the line, I got to a place where, I had these two gyms. I was super excited about what I was doing, but I had to come to terms, I had to get honest with myself, which was really, really difficult, that my dream at 20 wasn't my dream at 28. And that started a process of really going within and asking myself, where do I want to go from here? And where do I truly see myself going in the next 1, 3, 5, and ultimately 10 years? And that created the process that led me to where I am today.
Okay.
I like that.
Awesome. So what was it, how had you evolved in that 6 years that kind of flipped the switch for you? What changed in you that made you want to pursue something else?
I think everything, man. I mean, you guys know as well as I do that when you run a business, there's no better education that you can get than running your own business. There's no MBA or undergrad or case study or whatever you name it that's going to give you the same experience as you being responsible for a team of employees, for you being responsible for the livelihood of full-time employees, knowing that it's on you for them to pay their rent, and that's a really big responsibility. So in that time, as a younger business owner, I had to grow up really quickly. I had to lose some of the ego because early on, the reasons I wanted to do it early on was because, yes, I love fitness, but I also was ego-based. It was like, what do you do? Well, I own my gym. That sounds really badass. Mm-hmm. And as I grew on, as I started to grow and dissolve those reasons, which were really selfish, I grew as an entrepreneur. I grew as a man. And then my vision started to expand, man. Okay. And I thought, where can I take this? Where do I want to take this? And ultimately, I found that the vehicle that I was in, which was running brick and mortar retail fitness gyms, wasn't the vehicle that was going to fulfill the mission. And for someone else, that vehicle could have been the most fulfilling thing for the next 10 years, and that would have been awesome. But I knew deep down that it wasn't for me, and that's when I really started to start the process to ultimately distance myself away from it and sell it to some clients, and then move to a place where I knew nobody.
Nice.
That's a big jump, man. Was it initially like a feeling of like, oh crap, what the heck am I doing with my life? Or Was it more like a steady progression for you? Was it you just knew you had to make that jump instantaneously?
Man, such a great question, Jeff. It was. We all have these voices inside of us. This like internal wisdom is what I call it, and to me, it's our inner coach, and you can call it soul. And not to get too new agey on here, but once you alleviate all the distractions of life, the 50,000 thoughts that we have a day, mindless television, gossip, all that stuff, and you spend some time alone with yourself, which for a lot of people is a struggle, you start to tap into the inner wisdom. And for me, the inner wisdom kept telling me, this is done, it's time to go. This is done, it's time to go. 1 month, 2 months. And early on, I'm like, what are you talking about? This is not done. This is who I am. My identity was very wrapped up around that. And as time went on, that started to really build, man. And it got to a point where I couldn't ignore it anymore. And I remember, and this speaks to the value of surrounding yourself with like-minded people, because I was very embarrassed about this because, here I was. I had built something that I was very proud of. I had converted my family. At first, they thought I was crazy because they wanted me to be in finance. Now they had finally converted. They were so proud of me. They spoke of me so proud. And I had this laundry list of clients and employees. But again, it wasn't. It was. I was in a mastermind call, and I was about to share this for the first time about the inner voice. And man, I'm sweating, man, because I'm like, these guys are going to literally mock me and laugh at me. That's what I thought, man, because it was very embarrassing. And I remember when I said it, my mentor on the other side, everyone paused. No one said anything. My mentor said, that makes perfect sense. And that's when I realized, I wanted to like jump out of the rooftop because I was so excited to be accepted because it wasn't a logical deal, right? And I talk about this a lot. It was a deeper wisdom, and it didn't make any sense. I had just signed a 5-year lease. So when I was able to put that out in public and have others be like, dude, that craziness does make sense, and we're here to support you, man, game changer.
That's awesome. So I think that's key. Putting it out there in front of the world, because when you're talking to yourself, you have those other 49,999 thoughts combating, that inner wisdom. And, when you when you surround yourself with like-minded individuals and you find out that they're all crazy too, it kind of gives you the confidence to go ahead and step out there, a little further than you initially would have, or if you wouldn't have at all. And, it just goes to show that you become a direct reflection of who you surround yourself with. Mm-hmm. And if you have, big goals and big ideas, like it's important that that nothing's too big and nothing's too crazy. You just need to be surrounded. You just need to put yourself in the company of people who aren't going to tell you you're wrong and kind of give you that nudge to pull the trigger.
And it's so true. And that it's because, deep down we have to have the belief in ourselves. And a lot of time, as much as we may not like to admit it, getting someone else to say, dude, that sounds like a great idea, it validates, we already believe that, but it validates it even further. Mm-hmm. And that's why when you have someone who's surrounded, who really is looking to make change and is surrounded by a lot of negative people and gossip and all this stuff, they'll come out with an idea and everyone will shoot it down. Mm-hmm. And then they'll think they're dumb and crazy and then they'll be afraid to speak up again and they'll start doubting themselves. So it's really powerful, man.
And that phenomenon starts to happen at such a young age. I mean, you can probably recall, numerous occasions in elementary school where you raise your hand with what you thought was the right answer, or you had the right answer and couldn't explain it and you were ridiculed for it, and then all of a sudden you never want to speak up again. Mm-hmm. Well, as that might apply to math class, that filters into pretty much every other facet of your life, and you become less and less daring and are more apt to fall in line with things that you're less passionate about, and then next thing you know, you're 40 years old and you're like, man, how the hell did I get here? There were other things that I wanted to do.
Yes.
You know, I'm not where I want to be. And, you know, while I'm a firm believer that it's never too late to change course, it's easy to let yourself believe that you're past the point of no return and you have to settle for what you have.
100%. And as you know, and I agree, it's never too late, but it's time builds layers. And these layers, they build and build and build, and then it becomes so much harder to break through them. You can still do it, but it requires way more intensity and a way bigger support system. So you're absolutely right about that.
So where are you at now? Tell us about the Resist Average Academy.
Yeah, man, that's a project that's been near and dear to my heart. I've been saying the phrase resist average. I used to have it on the back of all my T-shirts for my coaches at the gym. So it's something that's just always been near and dear to my heart. And in a nutshell, you know, one of my core beliefs is that our human potential is basically limitless, right? And so if I believe that, if that's my worldview, then for my own life, I would never want to look back, and fitness was a great, you know, test and you know, getting into functional fitness was great, you know, kind of microcosm of what I'm about to say, but I never want to look back and say, you know, I didn't tap my potential with the gifts that I was given. And I always want to look back and know that I maximized and really, squeeze the bone marrow and the juice out of the experience of life, man, because, you know, we forget, and I try to remind myself every day that this is a luxury, man. Like, this is us being here right now. We're not guaranteed tomorrow, man. And I know it sounds so cliche, but, you know, I coach a lot of my clients, specifically in lifestyle coaching, to take a moment every day and recognize their own mortality. Mm-hmm. And because it makes things like, you know, Steve Jobs talked about this all the time, but it makes things very real on what you can do today to maximize your life. So Resist Average Academy is a podcast. It's an online coaching platform, coming out with some digital products for it, and something that I'm just very passionate and excited about.
That's awesome. Man. And you know, if you guys don't follow this guy on social media, he's awesome. Super positive messages every day. You know what really caught my interest the other day when you were talking, you're throwing out your positive quotes, and you said, think back to the time when you were a child and you just went through your life just carefree, not a care in the world, and try to use that in your life. Like, try to find spots in your day, every single day, to go back to that time and place, or create a moment in your life for that segment. What's the best way somebody could do that if you're going through stressful times, you think, or, you know, where somebody's like, well, I don't know if I could have that. I'm not a kid again. I can't just think back to where I was carefree. I got things to do right now, you know? What are some ways to, like, do a trigger to yourself to really get that going and fire charge you?
Totally, man. I mean, so it's you know, we all have responsibilities. We all have things to do, have to do's and whatnot. To me, fitness has always been my source of going back to that place. So I know I can tap into that every single day in some shape, way, or form when I train my body. For someone else, it might be something entirely different. And sometimes, you know, I recommend people just, you know, every day, take even 15 minutes to do something that you just love. It doesn't have to have a result. A plus B doesn't have to equal C, right? So if you love, you know, painting or gardening or journaling or whatever it may be, or podcasting or public speaking, like, find a way to infuse that into your day every single day in some shape, way, or form. Because as you guys know, when we're doing something we love, and that's, you know, the whole thing about the kid is twofold. It's one, you're very present and you're very curious too, right? You're asking a lot of questions and you're always open to new perspectives. You're not constricted. So this can be applied in a business setting or anything else, but it's about being in a state of flow. And so you're not, you know, it's not like you're forgetting your responsibilities. It's like, yeah, I'm alive in this moment. I'm soaking in the present as much as possible, because what good does it do to you if you're at a workout and you're thinking about your relationship problem? Right? You're in two places at once. You're not going to fix your relationship problem in the middle of a workout, right? Or if you're in a relationship problem or in business and you're thinking about fitness, it's wasted energy, man. So to me, fitness has always been the source of that, but I encourage anyone listening, just do something you love every day, even if it's 15 minutes.
That's powerful.
What are other things that you do to reconnect with that inner child and in the absence of fitness, what are you doing to make yourself present?
Yeah, that's a great question, man. I love doing things that really remind me that time is an illusion, because we become so obsessed with the clock, calendars, iPhones, and so our whole world is run on this schedule, right? And so I think back to when we were kids running around. We didn't think about time, our parents or guardians or whatever had to call us back for dinner, and we didn't even care about food at that point. Food, dinner, we didn't want to go in, right? We didn't want to go to bed. And so to get present, I do, daily meditation, breathing exercises, sensory deprivation, floating is awesome. I'm probably the worst drawer, painter, whatever it is, but putting myself in situations where I have to express my creativity. So for example, improv is an awesome deal where any adult is put on with a group of people, and you literally have to be in the moment, because if you're doing improv and you're not in the moment, the scene is dead. And so these type of activities that remind you to be present are great sources to tap into that, man.
I dig it. It's because what I find in our members at the gym is, day in, day out, people fighting that fight where no matter how much energy we put into class or how much energy the other athletes and members are putting into the class, there's always one or two people that are just combative and just can't leave the outside world for that 1 hour and just devote themselves to themselves. Fitness to me is to be a joyous experience where you can forget about everything else and just dial in, and it's just you, the bar, and your breath, and everything else gets put on hold. And it's extremely challenging for people who haven't cultivated that awareness just yet to come full circle with the idea that I can't do anything about that stuff now, and I'm here. So allowing themselves the freedom to be present is a gift that I wish I could give everybody.
And it's so true, and that's why fitness to me was my original, I call it my original tool of self-discovery for that reason, because when I was knee deep in a workout and my lungs were on fire and there was the blood, my body couldn't get the lactate out of my blood fast enough, all the BS stuff disappeared. I wasn't thinking about bills. I wasn't thinking about self-doubts. It was just pure, to me, it was pure presence and essence. So, if I had someone like that at my facility, I would definitely investigate it, because they're missing out on a huge piece. Even because if they're only 60% of the way there, they're missing out, as on that golden nugget when you're 100% present, when you're thinking about nothing but the kettlebell right in front of you and the breath that you're taking at that moment. What that does for you later on. See, the paradox is, like, for example, if someone's at the gym and they're in a workout and they're thinking about business, that if they were actually 100% present at the gym, when they went to go do the business, they would have this newfound creativity and they would be more present in the business. But by being at two places at once all the time, and I think this happens obviously now with how scattered we are, we're in 5 places all the time. We're not really we don't get the depth of the experience that is laid out in front of us, and that's a sad thing, man.
It is.
That's true, man. That's wild. How do you feel with your online platform now, going from a brick and mortar, so to speak? Now you have Tommy Baker Fitness online. How was the transition for you coming from a brick and mortar business to an online platform? Because I understand the marketing's, from my perspective, a little bit different, doing lead pages, things like that. What was your biggest hurdle, and how'd you overcome that?
Yeah, it's a great question, man. I would say I was lucky enough that once I built my gym and had some type of success, where, we had, hundreds of clients and things were going quite well, I discovered a new passion, and that was marketing, and I know marketing is like a trigger word for some people, and so they freak out, and some people freak out, some people love it. But to me, marketing is just, hey, I have this system. So for me, it was my gym that can make your life better. I can fix this, and this. And so marketing to me was, how can I position myself and speak to you in terms of what's important to you, not me. Go into your worldview, understand that you're an executive of 46 years old, you got 3 kids, you got minimal time to work out, you don't know anything that I knew about nutrition, and how could I market a message to let you know, because if I believe in my product strongly enough and my service, then it's literally my ethical duty to put it in front of you if I believe it's going to better your life. So long story short, I became obsessed with the marketing aspect of it, the influence and the persuasion and words that, I could write an email and shift a few words around and it would connect more with someone that I was trying to reach out. So long story short, I did a really deep dive into marketing, copywriting, all that stuff, public speaking, stuff like that. And so the transition was difficult, but because I had the tools from the brick and mortar business, like you said, I was able to bring them into the online arena, and the learning curve was way less.
That's interesting. Do you find it tougher to connect, or differently to connect with your audience? Because you're in more of a virtual space at that point, from where I don't know if you get the face-to-face interaction as much. Is it different to tailor your message towards a digital customer or consumer than it was to a face-to-face customer for you?
Yeah, it's a great question, and like I'm a face-to-face person, man.
Yeah.
Like when I was at my gym, like 6 a.m. to whatever time I was there, I was everything was face-to-face, and if I was doing some type of training, I gave my heart and soul to the person. But the funny thing that I realized was through my online platform, I've been able to deliver even better results, and it's so crazy because when you start out as a one-on-one trainer, it's very hard to believe that you're going to be able to deliver the same type of results, if not better, in a digital format. And I found that to be true. And then in terms of the communication, I actually think it's better, man. Yeah. Something happens a lot in a one-on-one setting. I don't know. It's very hard to put into. It's probably the first time I've talked about it, but you can become very comfortable as a coach or a person with a client, and you might be. I think the boundaries, and I'm all for having a family in your business and all that, but I do also believe that you shouldn't mix everything together. And what I'm saying by that is that you can become very comfortable, like as a business owner with my employees. Of course, I'm going to do social stuff with you, but I'm not going to be your best friend. And there's a reason for that. It's because we have roles to play. I'm a business owner and you're an employee. And it's the same thing goes with clients. So with the digital world, because we have screens and because we're kind of separated, I actually feel like the level of respect and results is higher.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you feel like in the space that you're in now, the expectation of performance is higher as well?
In terms of
what you deliver?
That's a really good question. Are you talking specifically about online fitness?
Sure.
Yeah. I would say, it depends on the person, because if you're going to train someone online virtually, they can't be a pure beginner. Right? Mm-hmm. Like they can't, not literally go into a gym and not know anything about it. They have to have a certain level of comfort with some of the training. Mm-hmm. So in that sense, and them knowing that it's a virtual experience, I feel like and for me, the goal is always to over deliver. Quick side note. So when I was transitioning online, I hired 5 online fitness coaches, like some of the best, man. These were pricey dudes, and I hired them all at once. Now, granted, I had 5 at once, so I wasn't like all in on one program. Right. But I wanted to see what the deliverables were. Sure. And man, they were crap. So and these were like the highest end guys, right? So I realized, I'm like, all right, that's very interesting. Like I can maximize on this, So everything I do, because it's an online experience, I feel like it has to be special, especially these days, because quote unquote anyone can do it.
That's interesting.
So just small things, man. Like, when I deliver, on one of my platforms, when I deliver a training program, I mean, the things it's branded, it's extremely nice. It feels like you're getting something. Or if you sign up, you're going to get a physical package from me, right? Because you buy something online, especially working with a coach, you paid for something, but there's nothing you're touching, and people like to touch stuff. So going out of your way to do small things like that helps.
I like that. What's your day-to-day look like from a business owner perspective?
Yeah, it's awesome, man. It's crazy. Every day is like, I think once I started my entrepreneurial journey, I realized, there's no more Mondays. There's really no more Fridays. I love hustling on Sundays. So, from a day-to-day, my morning routine looks quite the same, but my days look very, very different. So one day, like yesterday and today too, I was behind the mic a lot. I was doing tons of podcasting, and in between actually doing some consulting for a nutrition company and then coaching clients. So there's a lot of moving parts, and I always tell people who want to be entrepreneurs or are entrepreneurs, with great freedom comes great responsibility. And when I had a team of 12 people, I had people holding me accountable, because even though they were my employees, there was this shared mission and team aspect. And I was telling my girlfriend this other day that I kind of miss that. And right now I'm back to being solo, and I have like a virtual assistant or whatnot, but she's not all in. She's 10 hours a week, right? So I miss that team aspect. And so, everyone loves this idea of entrepreneurship, and it's great. But you have to be comfortable being your own boss, and that means you got to be hard on yourself, right? Because it's very easy to get distracted and do things that might be fun, but don't necessarily move your business forward.
Right, that makes sense. And adding on to that, I know Durs, we've talked about it a lot. It's finding that balance. Do you feel there's truly a balance of being able to get rest at night or staying up all night and getting projects done? How have you been able to guide yourself through that process? Or do you find it's like, do you get your solid 8 hours, or is it like some nights you just find getting 3 to 4? How's that work for you, and how do you manage?
Yeah, it's a great question, man. I like for a while I was working 7 days a week when I had the brick and mortar facilities, and also doing online stuff 7 days a week. I didn't know what a holiday was. I didn't go on dates. I didn't go on social outings. My friends would hit me up, but they stopped calling after a while. And so as a young entrepreneur, I thought more is more. I thought more hours, more results equals more money. You get to a point where more is actually less, right? And you think about a cup, and you're just filling it up. It's gonna overspill at some point. And what I realized was injecting these social outings into my schedule, injecting random trips, all these things that don't necessarily, I can't say that by going to 3 social outings in a week, my business I'm going to bring in more revenue. Like, logically, that doesn't make sense. But like I said earlier, when you step away from your business and you can come back with more creativity, it's so powerful. Like, we've all been to that point where we're working and we're tapped out, but we keep working. But the quality of the work is like 30% of what we know is our standard, and we keep pushing, and then we put something out, and it's like, no wonder no one buys, no one reads, whatever it may be. It's because we're like on this burnout zone. So to me, sleep is one of my very hardcore non-negotiables, and it's different for every person. But sleep and training and my morning routine, those are like daily non-negotiables that I just can't perform without.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. Even on vacation, it's like I gotta get it in, even if it's a shortened version of it, because that's when I show up with power, man. That's when I show up as like, Tommy, like to the 10 level, and that's what I always want to be for myself.
That's awesome, man. That's powerful, because I know a lot of times I find myself, like you said, it's the overflowing of the cup, so to speak, and it's hard for me to break that routine at this point because I got so used to it. And I've been seeing, like, I've taken up salsa dancing as far as...
I saw that on the vlog.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, because it's one of the things I'm not really very comfortable in, like, that social realm of dancing in public. So I was like, hey, I got to push the limits a little bit more. But going through those interactions and stepping away from the computer, it's actually opened me up and enlightened me to more situations I haven't seen in my life. Because I mean, it's like we all get bogged down. It's like I gotta get this done. But it's true. It's true what you said. It's just interesting perspective, because I find myself trying to find that balance, and I don't always find it correctly. It's always tilted very deeply to the work side of things.
But I love what you're doing with that skill, man, because as men especially, we live in our heads, man.
Yeah.
And we don't live in our bodies. So, to get away from the logical business left side brain and to go do something with your body, salsa, guitar, something that's more of like, intuition, feminine movement. For men, it's really important, man, because that's where creativity is found and all that stuff. So it's no wonder that you come back and you come back refreshed, and it's fun, man, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and early on with any skill, you're probably not that good at it, but then the next time you get a little bit better, and it gets funner and funner and funner.
Yeah, that's true.
Nicole doesn't know it, but we're gonna join you for salsa. I haven't told her yet.
I might have to roll through.
Yeah.
No, it's going back to what you're saying about establishing flow, and what we do as entrepreneurs in business become, especially once you get your systems in place, become so lockstep, and we become so process driven that using salsa as a tool in this example, it breaks that bond of process where you have to step all the way back and start with hour 1 of your 10,000 hours, which as an entrepreneur, you're so far removed from that place that it's vital to extend your creativity, to take yourself back to and purposely put yourself in a situation where you are now no longer the teacher, but forced to become the student again.
Yes.
I
love that, man. And like, I just took up guitar again, and it's like the same thing. Like, I'm at the Montauk the other day having a drink, and I see this dude playing the guitar, and he's an absolute beast. And then part of me is like, I'm done. I'm never going to get to that. So why should I be in hour 1 and 10 and 200? Because that's just not going to happen for me. But going back to what you said, I think that's the beauty of incorporating, like I said earlier, things that you love, because you learn lessons in that experience that translate into the business world, that translate into the fitness world, that translate when you're having a conversation with an employee or a relationship, that help you overcome the resistance that we all face with any new task or any new project.
That's true. And I'm interested, what books do you dive into? What type of books do you read currently? And are there certain books that you live by when you're starting off as an entrepreneur that have carried out through your process to this point?
Man, that's a loaded question. It's so funny. Because when I moved from the East Coast, I literally all I had was my FJ and then like a U-Haul trailer. And I'm telling you, half the trailer was books, man. I left all the other stuff behind. It's my prized possession. 2 books come to mind, and these are 2 books that I sent to almost all my clients, definitely all my lifestyle mindset clients, and they are a book called Loving What Is by Byron Katie. And this is a book that's about really helping people understand that they are not their thoughts. And what we said earlier, 50,000 thoughts a day, you start to believe all these things that you tell yourself, right? You start to believe, and then you become boxed into these roles that are self-induced. So to me, like when you put labels on someone, even as like introvert and extrovert, that's a disservice, right? And if you walk around and you're saying I'm an introvert, and I know the dialogue has changed and everyone has advantages, but if you put yourself into these if you buy into that story, right, then you might be at a networking event and you might miss the opportunity to run into someone who could launch a business with you or something. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So Loving What is about breaking down all the stories that you create in your life, and it's the simplest, most effective. It's so simple that it's almost mind-blowing. And then the second one is called The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. And that one, the reason I love that book is because as a society, we think, we believe in the myth of overnight success, right? And we see athletes and rock stars and bands and, Twitter and Facebook and IPOs and all these businesses blow up. And we think that, that just kind of magically appeared out of nowhere, right? But when we look at any success story, you see years and decades of challenge, overcoming obstacles, doubts, and all that stuff. So what I like about The Slight Edge is that it talks about how your small decisions every day, whether you're going to work out today or not, whether you're going to meditate or not, whether you're going to, go on date night with your wife or girlfriend, whatever it may be, those don't, on a day-to-day basis, they don't seem like a big deal, right? Because you do them and they feel good, and you don't do them, but it's only one day. But they add up, man. And The Slight Edge is all about the compound effect. So you get to a point where you've been doing these things for 3, 6, 9, 12, 18 months, and then boom, you are literally a different person. So those 2 books are really high on my list, but man, I could go on and on about this.
So that's a good one.
It's dangerous.
I've heard of The Slight Edge. I've never heard of the first one. I'll have to check that one out.
Yeah,
man.
definitely. It's a great one to kind of center you and remind people that a lot of what goes on in our head isn't actually true.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
What are the last 2 books that you've read currently that really set you on fire?
That's awesome, man. I really liked a book called The Code of the Extraordinary Mind.
Beautiful book.
You read that?
Yes.
Nice. So I read that twice. I don't usually read books twice, but I really loved how he took a lot of concepts from NLP and made them very digestible for people, because NLP can be very there's a lot of lingo in there, and there's a lot of technicality. So that was really awesome. And
what is NLP before, so people don't get lost?
Okay. Neuro-linguistic programming.
There you go.
So it's the study of human behavior and excellence. And then the other one is a book that I've read probably 30 times, and it's called The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. And the reason, I think, if you're an entrepreneur listening to this, or you do anything where it requires you to be creative and put stuff out there, like videos and content or writing or whatever it may be, you have to read this book, because I carry it around, because it's all about crushing the internal resistance that we all face every single day. And so, every day is a new day. The slate has been wiped clean. That's all. It's a gift and a curse, because what you did yesterday doesn't really matter. So today you're going to face new resistance. You know this as well. I mean, we're all fitness dudes. Like, I truly want to work out like 3 to 4 times a week. The other 2 days, I don't really want to work out. And that's like my fitness. I love that. So if we're fitness guys and we don't want to work out every day, it's like, think about people out there who are starting fitness programs. Like, they definitely don't want to work out, right? And so the art, the War of Art is a great book for entrepreneurs or anyone who's like trying to create change.
That's awesome.
So, but before we get out of here today,
I'm just getting started, bro.
We could go all day on
warm
that.
up.
I know, right? One thing you do to feed yourself every day, mentally, spiritually, and one thing you do to fuel yourself every day.
Ooh, this is solid. I would say on the first one is just starting the day. Probably heard this before, but sending out. It's funny because I do it to for myself, but it's actually a selfless endeavor. And that's picking one person in my network, tribe, family, relationships, former employees, anyone who I've ever crossed paths with, and sending them an encouragement message. And the reason why this is so powerful is because we all have bad days. And so I've noticed when I'm particularly struggling or having a bad day myself, and I start to shift the attention to someone else and I lift someone else up, I end up lifting myself up too. So it's like it's such a win-win. It's like they get lifted up, you get lifted up. And, I encourage people to try this and try it for a month and just pick one person every day and try to get a little unique with it. I've picked people that we may have had issues before, or maybe it was an employee that, ended up leaving or got fired or whatever it may be. But now I'm able to look back and say, hey, man, like, I appreciate you. I hope whatever you're doing is doing awesome. Here if you need anything. So that's number one. And then the second one was feed
So that feeds you. What fuels you?
Fuels you. And when you say fuels, is it like
what's your driving force?
Oh, okay. Cool, man. I have this thing that I do where it's like a block, and one of the right-hand corners says vision, and then every day I just reaffirm what I'm going after. And and it might look different, but the context looks similar. So it might say, on this day, and it could be 10 years online, whatever it may be, I'm walking on stage and there's, I'm giving a speech to 5,000 people, or, on this day, I've served this many people, and whatever it may be. But by just plugging into that, it makes me start my day with this vision that I know the obstacles are going to come in the way, but I'm going to be able to overcome it because I got my eyes. I'm already looking, that way further down the line. So those are two things I do every day.
I love that. That's awesome.
Awesome, man. Awesome.
And then where are some places we can follow you for the people listening? How can we best support you and what you're doing, your endeavors, websites, social media, your podcast? What are some places we can look? And we'll link these up in the show notes.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I appreciate that. I think the best place is the Resist Average Academy podcast. I mean, if anything, if you're enjoying the value that these gentlemen are bringing on this podcast, then I'm pretty damn sure you're going to resonate with some of my material. So I think that's the best place to start. You can go on iTunes and just search Resist Average Academy, or go to www.resistaverageacademy.com. And then if you're interested in any of the fitness stuff, TommyBakerFitness.com. And I'm always commenting on these guys' Feed Me Fuel stuff, so I'm sure you'll run into me if you haven't already.
Yeah, you'll love his stuff. I listen to his podcast and see his material. This guy's amazing. You definitely must follow for sure.
I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, you're awesome.
I gotta tell you, for anybody who hasn't experienced the Resist Average Academy, you are one of the most genuinely energetic people I have ever met in my life. And I was just talking to Jeff about this. You're one of those special people on the planet that you can tell is present and gives a shit about your experience with another person. And you're in that moment for however long that moment lasts, you're there. And that's a gift. I don't know if you learn that or if that's just something that you come by naturally, that's innate to you, but brother, that's a blessing. And thank you for allowing us to join you on your journey. And be sure to follow us at Feed Me Fuel Me and on all social media, and catch up with us and any of our previous podcasts on iTunes. Just check out Feed Me Fuel Me in the search column. Rate us, let us know what you think, and if there's any other value that we can provide, please be sure to let us know in the comments. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you next time.
And that's a wrap, crew. We really hope you enjoyed this episode with Tommy Baker. We had a blast shooting it. This guy is really cool, down to earth, and very inspirational. If you want to check out the full show notes and get connected with us and Tommy Baker, go to feedmefuelme.com. Also, be sure to check out and subscribe to all of our social media on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and Twitter at feedmefuelme. We have a lot of great things coming our way. Just got a new studio, and then we're working on new website and social media material for you all. As always, if you found this episode inspiring in any way, please rate, comment, and subscribe so we can continue on this journey together. Also, be sure to share it with your friends on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and Twitter, or any other social platforms that you use. We really appreciate it, and it helps us continue to grow and bring you guys content and the people that you love to hear. As always, we love hearing your feedback on these episodes and topics for future episodes as well. To end this episode, we would love to leave you with a quote that we heard from Tommy Baker. Be your own authority. Live your life with conviction, self-reliance, and without external approval. Thank you again, and we will catch you on the next episode.